Well, hello, hello. How are you guys? Welcome back to Life Trials by EAC with your favorite Playboy model, independent broker, and all that beautiful stuff. I am enormously grateful for you guys with your continued support and understanding of my ever evolving personal endeavors. However, I hope everybody's doing well today on this beautiful, lovely Wednesday morning here on the east coast of Florida. And Davy, it is 11:26 a.m. I first wanted to make a statement about yesterday's horrific massacre that happened in Texas. We pray for those families and hope God restores their broken souls. We have a major societal problem in this country that we need to internalize and figure out what we're going to do to move forward.
Yeah. Prayers to the families in Texas. Agreed. Yeah.
It's really sad, and we need to like really figure out and love each other and move forward from this tragedy because we are Americans 1st. So without further ado, as everybody can see, I have here live in the studio again a real estate mogul from Elevate Real Estate Broker, Dylan Keuning.
What's up, Liz?
I feel like I always butcher your name, your last name.
Keuning.
Keuning.
Yeah,
Keuning.
It's from South Africa, so it's gonna have a bit
Keuning.
of a weird thing, you know. So anyway, thank you so much for having me back. I think I was here a couple of weeks ago, and it's so awesome to be back again.
It's so nice to have you again, and you know.
And I know last time, you know, we got into so much, it was hard for us to really cover everything. So I think that this is kind of what we're doing in this episode. We're just kind of filling in some of the things that I mentioned in the last podcast, especially about like trying to, you know, a financial, you know, trying to create financial stability in a downturn market and potentially a recession or even a depression in the economy. And so we're going to be speaking a little bit about some income opportunities and some other things like that today. And then we'll be ending the podcast with one of my talents, which is I'm going to be doing some impressions. So if you want to stick around to the end, hopefully hopefully everything's going to sound pretty good and you guys have a good laugh at that. All right. Yeah.
Dylan, so I want to talk to you about these passive income opportunities that you're invested in. So can you please elaborate first on your first investment opportunity with Airbnbs? Like, so how does that work? Can you elaborate on that? And I just kind of want to learn about that investment and how you started from the beginning to end.
Right. So, thank you so much again for having me on the show. And yeah, Airbnbs. We bought our first Airbnb in November of 2019. And, you know, it wasn't such an easy transition, you know, because first I had to convince my wife to buy the Airbnb and she wasn't really on board wanting to buy the Airbnb. It looked like a lot of work, you know, it looked like a lot of work. It looked like there needed to be a lot of repairs, a lot of upgrades and things like that. And
A fix me up.
a huge fix me up. And it was actually a roach motel when I bought it. So
Oh my God.
there were roaches running around the walls and it was gross. It was really nasty. So it was already an operating Airbnb. And I had actually shown the property to a client of mine who was referred to me by a really, really good friend of mine, Dr. Oscar Molina. He's a chiropractor out of Miami with Elite Spine, really, really good guy, great family man. And he had referred this client to me and he was looking for some multifamily properties. And when I saw this listing for the first time, I was like, wow, this is such an amazing listing because this, like, I couldn't believe, I thought that there was an error, right? When I was looking at it on the map, I was like, I couldn't believe it was so close to the beach. I was like, there must be some problem, right? There's got to be an issue because this property was listed at $399 and I was just like, there's either a typo or this property can't be this close to the beach. Anyways, my client, you know, he really liked it. He liked the area and everything. We went on a contract. After the inspection report came back, I mean, we kind of knew that there was already going to be a lot of work, but it was way more work than what he wanted to do. So
Yeah.
understandable that he kind of wanted to move out, right? And he didn't want to purchase the property. So as soon as that happened, I basically was like, all right, I need to kind of convince my wife, who's an attorney, to try to buy this property. And obviously, when you're trying to negotiate against an attorney, usually things don't work out in your favor, right? So anyways, just to kind of plug my wife a little bit, just so that you guys can kind of understand. So my wife is Sasha Westerman-Keuning. She's a co-founder of Rostova Westerman Law Group right now here in Fort Lauderdale. She did actually have another law firm where they did like EB-5s and things like that as well, but she basically specializes in immigration law. So if you're married to an immigrant or you know, you're going to get married to an immigrant or anything like that, Sasha's the person that you need to speak to. So go to sashavisalaw.com and you can see all of the info over there and book a consultation with her if you need. So obviously being married to a very successful attorney, she has a very, very stable job, right? So she's got the monthly income and things like that. And me being a real estate agent, my checks are a little bit more sporadic. I mean, I could make $100,000 in a month, but maybe I could go a month or two or more without a paycheck. So that is a little bit stressful, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start to set up multiple streams of income, right? We're trying to figure out ways to try to make money, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're trying to figure out ways to make money, the reason why I thought Airbnb was a really, really good idea is because you make a lot more income with Airbnb than what you would with a long-term rental, right? If you were doing a 12-month rental to a tenant and they signed a lease with you, maybe you only get $2,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
We're just speaking hypothetically, but that same property, if the bylaws, if there wasn't an HOA or anything that didn't allow Airbnb, and let's say hypothetically you could Airbnb that property or do a short-term rental, you in theory, depending on the market, you can get about triple your income. So if you're getting $2,000 a month from a regular tenant, you could be getting about $6,000 a month through Airbnb. So it becomes a lot of money. But obviously when you're making a lot of money like that, there's a lot of stress, right? There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of headaches, there's things that get broken, there's neighbors that get upset. I mean, you're constantly putting out fires, right? Well, that's at least how I felt when I owned this Airbnb in Hollywood. It was almost a full-time job for me, and that's not really a passive income job, right? So, but I understood the market that I was in, right? We're in like a party town, essentially. Like Hollywood's a party town. A lot of the people that were renting our Airbnb because of the price tended to come because they want to come into Florida to party and have a good time. So I coming from a hospitality background, I understand that. I'm a little bit of a micromanager as well, right? So it's a little tough, right? When I'm trying to manage all of these feelings and emotions, because I want people to have a good time, I want to get paid, but also I don't want them to destroy my property or anything like that. So, I think, and obviously when you're doing things like VRBO or Airbnb, there is a big level of trust in there, right? You're giving people your code to your property. So we did these 3 phases. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we did 3 phases on this Airbnb, and we said we're going to break them down, right? We're going to do the first, second, and third, and we're going to basically do the first one right now. The next one we'll do in like 6 months, and then we'll do phase 3 in a year or whatever, whenever we have the income to do it, right? So the first one we did the roof. We repainted it. We put in all new furniture in the property, and right away, I mean, we turned this property that was only making about $50 a night per unit, and then they were already at that point, and this was only maybe an $8,000 or $10,000 investment in the beginning. Oh, the new roof was $10,000, so it was about $20,000 in the beginning was our initial investment. And we took it to making about $200 a day from both units. So each unit was getting at least $100 a day. And so what makes it really, really cool is that when you have Airbnbs, or short-term rentals and things like that, and you have a lot of them, then it starts to become a passive income business, especially if you can hire people to do the work. That's when it becomes a passive income business. Right now, so we sold that Airbnb actually early this year. So I bought it for like $380, right? And this was the hard part, was convincing my wife to buy the property, because we needed, first was the big down payment, right? We got to take a huge chunk of money out of our savings, and she wasn't really too thrilled about that. And as I mentioned, she was like, I don't know, it could fail, and there was a lot of fear and doubt, obviously, and I respected that as well. But I was like, I mean, this is such a great location that I don't really think that we can go wrong in it. And I was just saying, from an income perspective, it's going to do well. So we know that the COVID thing happened, and that was one of our first hiccups, right? So actually, we got it all painted, it was all looking great and everything, and then COVID hit, and for 3 months we couldn't actually rent it out, right? So we have all these expenses included on our mortgage, and we're not making any money, zero money. And at that point, each day feels like a month, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're stressing out,
It's two
and
months.
and I'm starting to doubt myself as a human being as well, because I'm like, maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe this was the wrong decision, buying this property, you know? And it was hard because we had to still carry that mortgage and all of these expenses and everything, and there wasn't anybody renting it. And actually, maybe we did do a couple of little private rentals here and there to some people that we knew personally, but it wasn't even enough to really cover our mortgage or anything like that. It was basically just keeping us afloat, and we're very very thankful for that. But we used that opportunity while COVID was happening, which was basically 60 days where we couldn't rent it out. And I want to say probably around the end of June of 2020 was when things kind of reopened again. So um, when it did reopen, we actually reopened, and our rates got kicked up even higher because during that time we went and put in new ACs, and we did a lot of remodeling as well, right? But like, while we have this time, well, why not use this time to go and spend more money, right? So we spent more money that we didn't really have, to go and make this place even better than what it was before. But now it went from being semi okay to being really nice, and we also put a new kitchen in one of the units as well. And it was actually due to like a mold issue, so it was actually like an insurance claim, thankfully, knock on wood. So we paid for the
That's
new
awesome.
ACs, the insurance company paid for a new um, kitchen, which was a mold issue that had happened. And so when we reopened, now we were making excellent money because, and again, it was like a 60 day of like no money. And again, I was just like, I was being really, really hard on myself during that period. And I was even thinking about selling it. And my wife, we were discussing it. And she said, no, let's just see what happens after COVID, especially since we've just poured all this money into it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and we reopened like in the middle of the summer, which typically is not a very good time for Airbnbs anyway. So by July, we were fully booked and we were making great income, right? So, and then that all went right into like the last project that we did was probably just putting in the new bathrooms and things like that. And then we finally got it to like $200 plus a day, and we were getting about a 90% occupancy rate a month, and that's even in the low season, right? Even though the prices are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
So I took a property that was 399,000. I bought it for about 380, I think. That was an $80,000 investment that I needed for my down payment. Remember,
Yeah.
I put about $70,000 into renovations and
Yeah, yeah.
upgrades and furniture. So that's $150,000 that I put in from my own money. The rest was from the bank.
Yeah.
Then I went and sold that property early this year, and I sold it for $870,000 basically.
Wow.
So I took,
Sure.
I basically put $500,000 in my pocket in one day, which is amazing, right? But you know, a lot of people just see that, but they don't see all the hard work and all of the struggle and the fear and doubt and uncertainty that I had to go through to get there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sure.
when I sold it, I sold it as an amazing business, and each unit at that point was bringing in about $5,000 per month,
Wow.
and I sold it right after I redid the bathrooms. I'm sorry. So right after I redid the bathrooms, I sold it like right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that's doing it now, he's telling me that he's bringing in like 250 a day per unit. So he's making
Wow.
even more than what I was doing. And that's fine. I'm happy for him. I know that the insurance and things like that went up, so it's probably balancing out. So when we took that money, we went and bought two new properties up in Georgia, and this is where the passive income thing comes in, right? Remember, I was doing this all by myself. I was the host, and I was basically doing everything except for the cleanings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I hired
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
to clean it, but I was the handyman. I was the this and that. I would go and bring over new towels and all of that stuff, right? And
Oh, wow.
stock up the coffee machine, because I used to be in the hotel industry. That's
Yeah, yeah.
really came naturally to me, right?
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, it worked out really really well. And so we bought these two new properties up in Georgia, and the reason why we did that is because the taxes and the insurance and things like that are much much lower, and we ended up buying two properties, and we're netting around the same amount of money, and one of them doesn't have a mortgage, so we own one of them completely outright, and the other
That's
one we've got a
beautiful.
relatively small mortgage on. So, and then when we sell a house in Parkland, we're going to be paying that off, and hopefully we'll be completely debt free at that point. So that's pretty much the whole scope of what is Airbnb and what is short-term rental, and why it's a good business, especially if you're kind of cut out for it. I think that you need to have a little bit of a hospitality background, or you've got to really love people, and you've also, like
You
I
got to have
said,
the money to invest,
you've got to
really.
have the money. Yeah, you can't. It's going to be hard unless you're trying to do the rental arbitrage and you go through a landlord. But again, it's really really tough, and you probably don't want to go and ruin somebody else's property. I probably wouldn't want to do that. That's why I like to own my Airbnbs.
So that's like, because a lot of people don't understand how to make, or how, what an investment is, and how to go about, like, if you're a middle class or someone that's at the other spectrum where you have a lot of money to waste and make such investments. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate you just being able to explain to the layman person as to how they can just take some of their money and make an investment, and it could actually grow into something more prosperous. And then
Right.
just what people are usually used to, like, oh, I have to invest into the stock market, or I have to invest into cryptocurrency. No, there's other like ways that you can make such investments. So
Right.
something that I also found really interesting about how you conduct your way of investments is talk, like, can you please elaborate on the Turo car rental services, the car sharing service? Like, I remember when we first met, you did tell me about that. So I had to, like, and you would encourage me to rent out my Porsches, and I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. But I would
Yeah.
love to understand in detail, like, what kind of investment that is long term,
Right. So
and the benefits and
I,
disadvantages.
again, I mean, I think that I probably needed to do the Airbnb first for me to understand that the tour, excuse me, was a pretty good investment opportunity. And the reason why is because you just have a much lower investment amount. So
Okay.
if you own the car, let's say you own the car,
Yeah.
then whatever money you're making is just pure income. If
Okay.
you're buying a car, like I went and bought both of these cars. One I bought through dealer financing, and one I got from a loan through a bank. So I just basically used my credit as leverage to acquire both these vehicles. I've got
Yeah.
a Porsche Panamera, which is out in Dallas, Texas, and I got my partner Sean. He's running it through a company called Executive Class Rentals out in Dallas, and he's a really good guy. I've known him for about 4 years. We also well, maybe even longer than that. We also did some like crypto stuff together as well, and he's always on the forefront of these like opportunities as they're growing. So Turo is a growing company, and I definitely saw that, and he's got a really good presentation. um, they're essentially, their whole model is to essentially disrupt the car rental industry.
Okay.
Now I don't know if you've rented a car recently, but
No, I
it's
haven't.
quite a nightmare,
Yeah, yeah.
especially if you're going into certain kinds of airports. We had the luxury of flying into Atlanta, Georgia airport, and we made the mistake of renting. I don't know if it was like Dollar or Thrifty, one of these stores where
Okay.
well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got a really good price, right? That's usually my wife's go to, is like, we got a good car at a really good price, right? So. But you don't know that you're going to have to go there and then wait for 3 hours in a line to go get that car,
Oh my
right?
God.
So when we got there, actually one of our last trips up to Georgia, this actually happened to us. So we were in this Dollar Thrifty line for like 2 hours.
Oh,
We're
hell
like
no.
losing our minds, sweating to death, and all of that, and you know. So, and I was just like, this is exactly why Turo's gonna pretty much take out this entire industry, especially companies like Dollar and Thrifty, where they're making people wait in line for so long, right? And so Turo, if you were gonna do it through Turo, let's say if we rented the car through Turo, you rent the car through the app, right? You pick your car, your host is going to message you, blah blah blah, and you're going to say, all right, we want to do a pickup at the airport. Usually they'll charge you an extra fee to do a drop off at the airport
Oh, wow.
for you. Now there's a couple different options, but usually they'll just drop off the car. They'll park it in one of the parking spaces,
Oh,
and then
okay.
there's either like a lockbox, or they'll either remotely open the car for you. So they'll figure out a way to do it, right?
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
there's a lockbox that has the car key in it. They give you the code and whatever when you get there, and then you just literally, the car's there. It's in the parking spot. You just put your luggage in and you drive the car away, right?
Oh, wow.
No waiting in line for 3 hours, and wasting your entire vacation and starting off on a really bad note like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Turo is, I mean, yeah, it's light years ahead. You're renting super nice cars. I mean, obviously you can rent like your regular whatever Toyota or whatever,
Yeah.
but then you can also be renting the Porsches and the Lambos and the McLarens and Rolls Royce and some really, really cool toys in there. And actually, I'm in the process of starting another business with a couple people that I know, and I don't want to say too much about it, but because then you end up giving yourself bad karma. But yeah, it's going to be involved in that to a little capacity as well, in another very, very touristy area where it's going to work really, really well. And I really like these guys, and I think it's going to work out well. So while we're kind of on that topic, I kind of want to just spend maybe 5 minutes just making sure that when you are getting any kind of passive income opportunity or whatever, really try to vet the people that you are going to be giving your car to, or whoever is going to be managing your Airbnbs or whatever. You've got to really do a good, thorough investigation of these.
Like a background.
Do a little, yeah. I mean,
like social media and all that stuff as well.
I mean, I have this. So, like I mentioned, I have this Jaguar F-Type convertible down here. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I got a Jaguar F-Type convertible, and I got this one a few months ago, and I had left it with a friend of mine. I've known for years as well, and actually, he even did some work on my duplex over here in Hollywood. Some side contracts and work and whatever. And I felt like after the 2 months that I had my car with him, that I was basically just running at a loss. And I was like, look, man, this is not really working out. And I didn't really feel like it was a good partnership anymore. Yeah. And I feel like maybe he had exaggerated a little bit on what he could do.
Yeah.
And so again, that's, for me, it's a learning experience. Obviously, I lost money on that partnership. And our friendship obviously isn't as strong as what it was before. So I think that, again, and it's hard, again, you guys, it's really, really, you don't want to be getting like into too many businesses with friends, because if it goes sour, you're probably going to lose that friendship as well, right? Yeah. So just keep that in mind. Try to keep friendships and businesses separate if you can.
No, yeah, I think that's super important. And, I think that you being able to speak to the layman person about investments and stuff like that in such a small way that is extremely profitable in an enormous manner. The outcome of that would be, but it's such a small way for smaller people with not so much money to make such investments and have that passive income and, be able to pursue other endeavors. And I think there's just so much to you. And I'm not sure if now you kind of want to transition, since we covered all these professional endeavors, to kind of end on a more lighter note, because you do have these exquisite talents that I would love for people to even hear, personal talents.
Yeah.
So I do, you want to tell them about it first?
I do have, I'm going to put on my shades because I'm going to kind of change in my little alter ego a little bit while I do these impressions and everything. This is... at least I think I'm good at them. Maybe I have a bad ear or something, but it's something that I've really, really enjoyed doing since I was a kid. I can even remember when I was in like elementary school, or we call it primary school in South Africa. When I was in primary school, I'd be doing like these little stand-up acts with my buddies. After school, we'd have this little after-school program, and all day, instead of paying attention in class, I was thinking about what I was going to be doing on my stand-up act after school, right? Because that was pretty much all I was thinking about. So, so obviously right now my accent's a little bit mixed. You can hear that it's not an American accent. In the last podcast, I was talking about me being from South Africa. I'm from Johannesburg. But because I've been here now, it's been 14 years or something. No, it's been like 16 years. 16 years here, obviously talking to people with an American accent all the time. I got in a little bit of an American accent, and it's also because I just didn't want to repeat myself all the time. I hate repeating myself. It's something that I don't enjoy doing. So when I first came here, right, I worked at this country club in Coral Gables, and I'd be like, "Sir, would you like a glass of water?" And then the person would literally just look at me with like squint eyes, and they'd be like, "What are you saying?" And I'd be like, "Would you like some water?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let me get some water," or whatever, right? So
you're good at impressions, so
that's what I do. I'm not a comedian.
He's not a comedian.
I don't write jokes. Okay, that's not my thing. I don't write jokes. I don't have time for that. But I like to do impressions, right? So I can do impressions from different countries, and I think I do a pretty good job at these impressions. So we're gonna kind of start them off from the top, and we'll start with the South African impressions just because that's where I'm from, and then we can kind of compare that to all the other countries, because people will tell me, oh, you're from Germany, you're from Australia, you're from this. So I had to be like, no, this is what an Australian sounds like, this is what a British person sounds like, and kind of teaching Americans what all the accents sound like, basically, and now I perfected them essentially. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
can we start with the first one being the South African accent?
So we got the South African accent. So if you are from South Africa, then you're gonna have an accent that sounds a little bit like this, right? And you're gonna say, "Let me get the double clip drift and coke." And so now I'm sounding a little bit more like an Afrikaner, an Afrikaans person. Those are my people too, but and so the Afrikaans people, they come from the Netherlands originally, but they've obviously been there hundreds of years, so they have a little bit of a different dialect, and they're like, so their language sounds like this. It's like, hoe gaan het met jou, right? It's a whole different language. You wouldn't even understand it, right? And that's just saying, hey, how are you, basically.
Basically.
Yeah, right. So and then I don't know, the Afrikaans people didn't really like me when I was a kid, so they'll be like, hey, Lighty, you're gonna ride the lightning today, my boy. So it was just really, really funny. And obviously growing up in South Africa and hearing all of these different, we have 11 official languages, right?
Oh, wow. For real?
11.
Wow. I didn't even know that. Is English one of the languages?
It's probably the most spoken one. Yeah, English is the most spoken, and then
Really?
we've got 9 African tribes all speaking their own language, and then Afrikaans is one of the 11. So you've got English, Afrikaans, 9 African tribes like Zulu, Tswana, Xhosa, a lot that I can't even pronounce, but those are pretty much the main ones. And so because I grew up in this very eclectic place with all these people speaking different languages and different accents and stuff, I was able to kind of work on this ability. So we can kind of, so that's, and then if you were going to speak to like an African person in South Africa, then it would sound like, so we actually went to Sun City, which is built by Saul Kersner, the same guy that built Atlantis in the Bahamas. Beautiful, he builds these beautiful hotels. And so when you arrive over there, they're like, welcome to Sun City. You're going to have a really good time today. So then that's like that would be like an impression of like an African person in Africa. And then so then a lot of people get me confused with like me being from England as one of the countries. So then I say to them,
That you could speak British. So
right,
that's the next impression.
So if
British?
I was going to do like a British impression, it would sound a little bit like, right, bruv, so today we're going to go to the bar and we're going to get some double vodka Red Bulls,
That one's good.
Maybe we'll meet some ladies afterwards. So then, that would be like your proper British accent.
And what's the British cocky? Cocky.
So the Cockney. So it's
Cocky.
so you've got like a Cockney accent, and it sounds like you've drank a little bit of whiskey for breakfast. You mean? So I could just speak like this all day long. It just sounds like a Cockney.
Oh,
Cockney accent. Yeah.
Cockney.
So that's like your British Cockney accent. I could just go on all day like this.
And what about, you said that you could do an Irish accent.
Right. So Father Peter and I, we would just go from Dublin all the way to Belfast, and everything would be perfect, and we'd have a little bit of Jameson right before Mass on the Sunday and everything. So
Scotland.
all right. So Scotland. All right. So I'll just do like a couple so regular Scottish would be like. All right, let me just do like fat bastard, right? So it's like, get here in my belly, So all right, I'll just do a Scottish joke actually. So
Yeah.
So Murphy's Law, right? So if you think of Murphy's Law is everything that could possibly go wrong would go wrong. But have you ever heard of Cole's Law, which is thinly sliced cabbage? So that's a Scottish impression.
Italiano. How about Italiano?
Okay, buonasera.
Italiano.
Come stai? All right, so we'll do it very quick. Like, you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life before. So I feel like the Italians are real charmers.
Australian.
Right.
Oh,
So,
that's hot.
So the Australians, they're always in a really good mood, right? It doesn't matter what happens.
I mean, they live on the fucking beach. I think the whole country, right?
The whole country's on a beach. That's what happens when you live on an island, right? So the whole country's on a beach. It's a pretty big island, though. No, I'm not trying to make fun of you, but
I've
it's a
been
very
long.
big
I
island.
heard it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Oh, my sister moved there actually early this year, and she loves it. And she, she's posting things on
Bondi Beach. Whatever.
Bondi Beach, mate. Yes. So the Australian accent sounds a lot like this. You're always going to be in a little bit of an upright, chippy accent. You've got a little bit of bee in your bonnet, and and then. Even if you're in a bad mood, maybe your grandmum passed away yesterday, but you still, things are all right, mate. Let's go to the bar and get some beers,
Oh my God. But I see here you have Russian, like.
Russian. Okay, so
Russia.
This is so funny because the Russian people, like if you hear Russian, it's like, спасибо, привет, как бы, like when you hear привет, when you're hearing Russian, it sounds really scary, right? I always think that people are in the mafia whenever I hear somebody speaking Russian. But then you hear like a Russian person speaking English, and they're like, me and my brother Yuri, we can have a little fishing boat. We come from Moscow City, and then have some suede and leather and stiletto shoes,
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So
And
that's-
China.
okay,
China.
Now
we're gonna go to this.
This is so funny because
No.
there's really this place exists, and it's right next door to my chiropractor, Dr. Adam Care Wellness Center in Margate. It's right next door, and it's called Lucky City Chinese, right? And so just one day I just recorded a video and I sent it to my mom, and my mom was dying. Well, no, I sent it to my mom, yeah. So I was like, hello, welcome to Lucky City Chinese food. Can I take your order?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Japanese? You can do Japanese too?
So that's like your China. I mean, obviously,
they're like a mix.
I'm not trying to offend anybody here, guys. I know. Look, I know that it can be offensive. Please understand that it's just supposed to be comedy. All right. If you're Asian or anything, please don't be offended by this. It's just me trying to have fun.
Yeah.
All right. So then the Japanese accent, because that's like your Chinese accent, then your Japanese, oh, okay, today we are going to learn how to do judo, and then afterwards we will learn how to roll some sashimi, sushi, whatever.
No, that's fucking awesome. And I now want to hear you like do an impression of my culture, the Cuban culture. Like, oh yeah,
All right.
loga.
So it's like, All right, so then
Háblame, mi niño.
yeah, I don't know. It's like hard for me to do a Cuban impression
I can do that
without
shit.
swearing a lot, because it's just that's kind of like
That's the
part of
culture.
the thing. It's like,
It's our language.
Exactly, right?
you, man.
So I don't know. I'm kind of getting put on the spot, but I did like a few little. No. There's like I did like a few little things in there. I guess they're pretty like like that's probably my best like impression of a Cuban guy.
That was okay. That was okay.
All right.
And people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're American. You speak Spanish." I'm like, "Loga."
I think it's the blonde. I think it's the blonde hair, Liz. I think that's probably it.
I don't know. Honestly, when I had black hair, red hair, blonde hair, it doesn't matter. You're American.
Yeah.
And then I start speaking Spanish, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you speak Spanish?" I'm like, "I know you all español, inglés, chino, franco, que te pica."
Oh, and then one of my last impressions, just to kind of end it off.
The Jamaican woman.
Yeah, let me do that, just because I can show you the range.
Show me.
So it's like, Ralston, and you ever come up to me this morning and say that you've been sleeping with his daughter for the last 6 months. Ralston, with tears in my eyes, I ask you, why you been sleeping with the neighbor's daughter? Go over and apologize, you rude boy, you bumbleclout.
Oh, that was good.
Thank you. I told you I thought I was pretty good.
I thought you were pretty good. I mean, this is actually like I never really seen this side of you. Just to see your personable personality.
I like to kind of be a little silly and stuff. And when I'm working with my real estate clients or whatever, or my tour clients or whatever, I kind of like to show that side of myself as well, because when you're spending $1 million on a property, you typically want to kind of not be thinking about that. So I use that in my magic and a few other things to kind of
the card magic.
Do you want to do one card trick before we end?
Yeah, let's do this.
So how about I'm just gonna give you the whole deck, and you can go ahead.
Okay.
You can go ahead and just shuffle it, right? So you know that I'm not doing any funny business. Shuffle that deck as much as you can. We'll
All right, let me
do
see.
we'll do the card trick where I'm gonna spell, just because Elizabeth is a
can-
super long name. We'll just do Liz.
Oh my God,
for
I can't
short.
forget it. I can't even.
No, that's okay.
I haven't done something
trying
like
to do
this.
the riffle shuffle. Yeah, so one of the things that I've been doing recently, though, that's cool. It's a cool shuffle. So
Oh my God, it's terrible. All right, what do I do?
I started doing this magic course with David
Oh, I give
Blaine.
it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I started doing this magic course with David Blaine. It was actually early this month, and we're like halfway through. It's so cool. It's an online course through this through like a program called Studio, and yeah, I paid like $200, and it's awesome. Yeah, I've learned like probably 5 or 6 really awesome magic tricks right now, and people's minds get blown, right? So,
Okay, you want to blow my mind right now?
Hopefully, let's see if we can.
Vamos a ver
Let's
aquí.
make sure we don't screw it up, right? So, all right, here you get to choose any card in this deck,
All right, I'm choosing it.
whatever you want.
Okay.
All right, so once you take a look at the card, you can
Uh-huh.
you can also show the camera the card if you want, so that people. I don't know. Can you show the camera without?
Hi.
I'll like look away.
Wait, you're gonna have to like.
I'll look away.
Can you cover your eyes?
Yeah, cover my eyes.
We're gonna have to show you guys. Okay, everybody see it? Yeah. Okay, we're good now, Dylan.
All right, so put it over here. Put it right there.
Oh, caca.
Okay, so now I'm gonna put it back.
Oh.
Now what I do is I
Sorry.
do like just so that you can see there's no like card manipulation or anything. That's like really closed deck. It's not sticking out or anything like that, right?
No
So
cheating.
now I just do like a little cut. I basically just cut it once, all right? And now I'm gonna find your card, and we're gonna this is the really cool trick where I make the cards speak, right? So the cards are gonna speak once I found your card, and I think I already found your card, so that was pretty quick.
Oh well.
Or hopefully I didn't mess it up, right? So all right, so
Whatever.
what you do now is you're gonna knock on the cards twice on the top. Oops. Yeah, try to get them. Okay, knock on the cards twice, and then we're gonna spell out the word Liz, short for your name. Liz. Just take them off like this. One, you can just leave them face down.
Oh, okay.
So leave them face down. 1, 2, 3 for Liz. Right, those are 3 cards. Open up the 4th card.
Oh my God! It's the fucking number. That's so weird. Like, what the fuck? Like, it is 6. What
6
the
of
fuck?
spades. All right, awesome.
This is creepy. You're creepy, motherfucker. ¿Tú me estás haciendo una brujería? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Much appreciated. Thank you for watching today. I hope you guys learned something. And yeah, be very, very cautious in your investing and all of that moving forward. Be careful who you're working with in your business relationships. Do that due diligence. Make sure that you're doing everything right before you go and spend a lot of money and take all that hard-earned money out of your bank account.
Can you tell people, I mean, as well, I'm going to have in the description box below all the information, how to contact if you have any immigration questions for his wife.
Yeah.
And then your personal information, if you can at least give whatever, how people can contact you today for those investment questions and real estate proposals or anything like that.
Okay, so the best way to contact me is
Instagram.
Yeah, I would say
At Dylan the Realtor.
Yeah, at Dylan the Realtor. You can send me a message.
It's also scrolling at the
or
bottom of your screen.
Follow me on Dylan. Yeah, Dylan the Realtor on Instagram is probably your best bet. If you have Twitter, you can also do Dylan the Realtor on Twitter.
And then you'll find his personal information, like the phone number and all that contact information.
If you're thinking of any
YouTube.
real estate needs, you can go to my website, elevatesportsdivision.com. For my wife and any immigration needs that you have, you can go to sashavisalaw.com or ristovawestermanlawgroup.com. And I think that's pretty much all of the plugging and advertising that I can do for one
Thank
day.
you so
and
much.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's always a pleasure being on your show and talking to you.
Thank you so much, Dylan. And I really appreciate you guys coming and watching the show again. So if you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and all the platforms hosting my podcast, Life Trials by EAC. And thank you guys. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye to Dylan.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
All right.